Hey everyone, welcome back to another lesson. So in this one, we're going to create a very interesting project, which is called the random walk. Now, the idea with this is that we're going to create a turtle project that is just going to go around a screen and essentially just draw random lines with random colors. All right, so the project that by the end of the video, the project should look like something like this. As you see, it's just going around like randomly and just like drawing these lines in different colors, and it's just doing its thing. It's again a very interesting project. The reason this is actually quite interesting is that the random walk project is used heavily in data science and research. For example, it's used to determine how animals can move around randomly, or for example how cells can move inside body or something like that. Again, a lot of different uses for this, and it's something that we're going to explore today. I'm going to actually draw it, and you see there's a lot of different interesting stuff that you can read about it on Wikipedia. But anyways, so we're going to actually go ahead and create it, and as always, make sure you have the total library documentation on, because we're going to be heavily using this. All right, so with that being said, let's pull up our PyCharm and let's go ahead and create this. So let's think about what we're trying to achieve here. Okay, so obviously we need to have a few modules, the turtle by itself and also the random module, because we're going to be using that, right? So everything else I'm just going to delete it. This is for the previous lesson, so we're just going to get rid of everything. So we got a few things to figure out. So the first thing I want to show you is moving around, because that's like one of the things that we do in the project, right? And it just moves randomly around, right? So in order to do this, we need to obviously go left or right randomly, but there is actually a better way. If you go to the turtle library, there is actually a better way to go around. It's called set heading. It's basically it's just like a different way to go around, and this method essentially is going to allow you to go east, north, west, south, and you can use numbers to actually go around. And the reason this is useful is that we can actually create a list of numbers and choose a value randomly from that list. So that's where the random element of things come in, right? So if I actually go ahead and create a list, call it directions. I'm just gonna call this directions, okay? And we're just gonna, again, this is gonna be a list. We're gonna have 0 in it. We're gonna have 90. We're gonna have 180. Again, these are like the degrees, the angles that this thing is moving, right? So 270. So we got 4 different angles of movements. All right, so next is to just actually create the movement. All right, so I'm just gonna say Tim. Again, we already have the object here, so I'm just gonna say Tim forward. So there you go, and we're gonna, let's say, move 30 on each each time we're moving forward. And finally, what we're going to do is we're going to choose a random value from this direction for the actual heading, set heading. So I'm just gonna say Tim set heading, okay, and just like that. And we're going to use the random module. So I'm just going to say random, and we're going to say random choice, obviously, because we're randomly choosing something. And I'm going to use directions. All right, so again, this value, we're going to randomly choose one of these values inside. So far, actually, this is almost there so far, if you think about it. So if I run this, see what we're gonna get. So we're just gonna get one of these, just like movements, right? So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure this thing runs as long as possible, as long as we want. So I'm going to use a for loop. I'm just gonna say for and we're gonna say in range, and we're going to, for example, repeat this 200 times. I'd say, okay, let's do 250. All right, make it a little bit longer. So there you go, 250. That means that we want to run this code 250 times. So I'm just going to indent it inside, and just like that, this should run it 250 times. Now let's take a look at it. If I run that again, just like that, see, now we got this random movement all over the place. All right. So far we're making progress, looking good, right? So, but obviously there are a few things that we're not doing. For example, obviously we want to add colors, and we want to make it a little bit thicker based on what I've shown you, right? And yeah, so obviously those are a couple of things that we need to do. I'm just gonna close this because this is gonna take a while. So yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually going to change the pen size. So if you go back to the documentation, there's this method called pen size. And what this does is it's going to basically allow you, let me just go back again. There you go. So this is the pen size, method. Basically allows you to change the, the thickness of the line. And you can use the same width as well. It's pretty much the same thing. So you can use the width method as well to do this. So I'm going to change the pen size. Let's go back here. I'm just going to put it right below this. I'm going to say Tim, and we're going to say pen size, and I'm going to use 5. Let's make it a little bit thinner, not too thick. There you go. That looks good. I like it. All right. So we changed the pen size. So next thing we're going to do is I want to actually, make the colors more random, right? So that's another thing that we got to do, obviously. So in order to do this, we already have the colors list. So all we got to do is just basically add this, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and say Tim colors. We already did this like in a previous lesson. So I'm just going to choose a random value, random choice, as you see, from the colors list, right? So just like that, we're going to basically choose a random value from the colors. There you go. So again, and you can choose change the thickness of this with the pen size. I just want to keep it a little bit thinner because the example I showed you, that was way too thick. But yeah, anyways, we'll make it 7, maybe a little bit thicker. But that's pretty much it, right? Now, one more thing I'm thinking is that because this is taking way too long, I would have actually changed the speed. And, I've shown you the speed method as well. You can actually change the speed of, of this thing. So you can actually have it go fastest or slowest, and you can actually use numbers or just the string values. So I'm just going to change the speed as well. So I'm just going to say Tim speed, and we're going to maybe do fastest. All right. So if I run this for one last time, as you see, this thing is just going to go all over the place quickly, and it's going to draw random path basically. So just like that, guys, we finished this. As you see, when you obviously do your research, when you look at the documentation and understand exactly how things work, it's really not that hard, right? Now, one thing that I want us to do, which is something I'm going to talk about in the next video, is actually choosing really random colors. Because so far, what we're doing is that we're choosing these colors in the list, right? So all these colors that we pull in randomly are coming from this color list. But I want us to actually generate our own random color, which is a very interesting concept and something that we will talk about in the next lesson. So let me know if you have any questions, guys. If not, I'll see you in the next one.